This is Shari Jensen and Rosemary Gin from, well, Confident Kids Academy and Reader Detective. Did I reading or Reader Detective? I forgot what it was.
Readerdetective.com.
Okay.
Is
and
the
they're
URL. But
perfect. Okay. And they're going to spend some time today to remind us that our kids are amazing. So I'm excited about this. So go ahead, guys, introduce yourselves and show us some amazing stuff.
Okay.
About our kids.
all right. Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Rosemary Gin and with the Confident Kids Academy, and I've been a primary teacher. I've homeschooled our kids while living abroad and taken training to become an Orton Gillingham certified dyslexia coach, and busy tutoring and working with my amazing teammate, Shari Jensen. And we're excited to bring you this workshop that's called Your Child is Amazing. Let's write a book about it. The purpose of this workshop is to teach you how to equip your kids with tools to counteract negative self-talk through focusing on strengths. So I believe that this will be a very beneficial workshop for you because we have been using this tool with coaching parents, with working with their kids and seeing progress, seeing breakthrough, as well as using it with our own students. And Shari has used it with her own family. So if you want to learn a little bit more about us, you can check out our website. It's readerdetective.com. And just so we can get to know you a little bit, we would like to know what province you're from. So type in the chat what province you're from, and that way we can see that you're alive, that you're a real person there watching us. Awesome. From Quebec. And where else? BC, Alberta, Ontario, Brazil. Wow. And Ontario, Nova Scotia. I myself am from British Columbia. So great. Welcome to all of you today. And let's get started. So, also one more thing. How old is your child? You can just type in the chat the age of your child. And so we have an idea what age we're looking at. Great. Awesome. Nice. My own children, our own children now are young adults. So they're in their 20s. And whether our children are neurodiverse or typically developing children, there's times when every child feels like they can't accomplish something. They're not good enough. The homework pile is too high. They're not bright enough, or they don't want to do it. And so they have a meltdown and they spiral down. And this can be discouraging for us, right? Because, well, we may not know what to do. We may not know how to help them get over this hump. And so, that's why Shari and I are doing this workshop. And let me see what else I was going to say. What we are talking about is going beyond reading. It's also equipping your kids for life. So that's just a little introduction. Go ahead, Shari.
All right. So I'm Shari Jensen. I actually live in Nashville. Rosemary and I met, it's 3 years ago now, right? Close to 3 years ago. And we have been working together online since then with Confident Kids Academy. And I've been teaching reading or teaching period, but especially focusing on reading for the last 30 years. And I have taught, more recently, I taught over 100 people to teach reading to kids at the Vanderbilt Reading Clinic. So, but as Rosemary said, today's topic is a little bit about reading because we're making a book, but and using that for using our book as a backdrop for it. But really the topic that we're talking about is more about how the negative, getting out of those negative swirling when we're swirling down instead of swirling up. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then at the end, Rosemary is going to, or I'm going to talk first about the negative Counteracting the Negative Self-Talk. And then Rosemary is going to go on and talk about how to make the Strengths book and kind of walk you through that and what it looks like depending on the age of your child and their reading abilities. So we're excited to have you. I'm going to share my screen. If you're just coming in, please put your age and, your children's ages and your province that you're from so that we can see who all we have. We have lots. It looks like we have all ages. That's really awesome. So I'm going to share. Okay. So welcome again to You're Amazing. Let's write a book about it. And as Rosemary said, our purpose is to teach parents how to equip kids with the tools to counteract negative self-talk through focusing on their strengths. And so before we get started, I just wanted to know how many of you have felt stuck like this person here, trapped in your own kind of jail. So if you put a virtual hand or a regular hand, if you have the screen up, so that we can see. I feel like we've all kind of gone through that, where we've all gotten stuck, where we're spiraling and sometimes don't know how to get out of that. That's what we want to do, is help our kids so that they don't stay here and instead they can go through and be victorious, right? And be triumphant, or yeah. So this part is about learning how to help children recognize the lies of defeat and replace them with personal truths. So we're always sending messages to ourselves all the time. We're always talking to ourselves, no matter who you are. The question is, what kind of messages are we sending to ourselves? Are they positive ones that build us up and help us to go forward? Or are they negative ones that tear us down and keep us stuck? So Miles Monroe once said, "Your future is not ahead of you, it's trapped within you. The graveyard is the richest place on the surface of the earth, because there you will see the books that were not published, the ideas that were not harnessed, the songs that were not sung, and the drama pieces that were never acted." And that's like when I think about my own kids, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like we don't want, like, I want something better for my kids than to stay stuck in all the things that I was stuck in. So how many of you feel that way too? So hang on one second, real quick. So I'll put in the chat real quick, one word, just choose one word to describe the way that you want your child or children to see themselves in this big world. Like what's one word that you would use to describe how you want them to see themselves? Some of the words that are coming up.
Oh, you want me to read them? Courageous, loved, confident, content, and peaceful. Love it. I really love it. I love these.
That's awesome.
Having value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Unique.
Oh, awesome. Yes. One of the things that I think about for my kids is when I think of that one word, I want them to see themselves as limitless, that all possibilities are available to them.
Mm-hmm. We have worthy.
Awesome. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. So we were each given an amazing mind with an endless capacity for learning. So what gets in the way of us being all that we can be? Most of the time, the thing that holds us back isn't our mental ability, it's our beliefs about ourselves and the other people that are important to us. Whatever we water grows, whatever we focus on becomes our reality. So as an illustration, let's pretend that I believe I was intentionally created. This is just an example. If I believe that I was intentionally created, then deep down, I must also believe that my child was also intentionally created. And to go even further, I may even believe that my child was created to be raised by me, and that I was chosen to be his mom or his dad or his grandma. So in thinking about that, in what ways does believing this impact the way that I parent? So let's take it one step further. If I believe my child was intentionally created, I might also believe that it's not an accident that he's living at this time in history. And if so, what if hypothetically speaking, of course, you believe that your child was created on purpose to accomplish something that is specific to him and that no one else can do the way that he does? How would that impact the way that you parent? So I'm using this as an example to kind of go through what we have as our own personal belief systems, using this as an example, or our own personal truths. If this is your belief system, then anything that goes against this belief is not your truth. So we're talking about personal truths. So telling yourself that you're not a good parent is not your truth, or telling yourself that putting yourself down is a contradiction to what you believe, if you believe those other things that we talked about. And it works the same way with the messages we tell our kids. But knowing our truths is powerful, and it puts us in control. We have the choice then to believe our truths or to believe the lies that contradict those truths. And that's really what we want our kids to do. We want them to be aware that they actually have a choice, that you are not a victim to having too much homework, or to having to do this or having to do that, that you actually have choices about the way that you want to deal with the different things that you have to do. You may not have a choice in what you have to do, but you have choices about how you want to approach those. And those choices, the way that you approach them, make all the difference. So I'm going to show you what that looked like in my home. So my son, which I didn't show a picture of him because he doesn't want any pictures, but he's now 19. And but when he was little, when he was in, well, all the way through elementary school, he would come home from school and, you know, throw his books down and just be like, ah, and be so upset and tell me about all the bad things that happened in his day. And he would just be completely frustrated. Now to explain a little bit, my son does have ADHD and sensory processing disorder. So there are things, there are real challenges that he was dealing with that other people didn't understand. Parents or teachers didn't necessarily understand, and that his peers didn't necessarily understand. So there were lots of things that made school challenging for him. But he would come home and be upset, and then I would have to like talk him back up so that he could do his homework and get refocused so that he could actually do his homework. And so there are lots of negative mindsets and barriers or lies that we believe about ourselves or others. And so for some examples are, I can't, it's too hard, it's never going to take too long, I'm never going to be done, things like that. Now, for my son, it was always, like, I'm never going to get this done. I'm never going to be able to play tonight anyway. I may as well not even try. How many of you have kids like that say that are stuck? Awesome. Yep. So, but let's take a look at our bodies. How we think affects every cell in our bodies. So neuroscientist Dr. Carolyn Leaf shows how every thought is stored as a vibration in the telomeres of every cell. So every single cell in our body has a vibration of our thoughts, and every thought. And we have thousands of thoughts all in a given day, right? And a lot of them we're adding from past experiences and adding on to thoughts. They may not be fresh new ones, but we have thousands of things that are vibrating in the cells of our body. And our negative thoughts have a different vibration than our positive thoughts. So if you think about it, hold on real quick. So if our thoughts have a negative vibration in our bodies, in every cell, think about how that affects our heart rate, how it affects our blood pressure, how it affects everything in us. So it's super important that we're careful about what we're thinking about. But let's take this a step further, because we might be able to think that it's only in our bodies. But this is really interesting. I found this, and whether it's true or not, I mean, these are all the slides, so I guess, I'd like to do more research to find out how proven it is. But I think that it's congruent with what Dr. Leaf says too. So they exposed these different water particles or water droplets to different words. So speaking different words, and then freezing the water droplets, and then seeing what the crystals that formed afterward. And I thought it was so fascinating that something that's not even living, like water, could actually have different compositions, form different crystals, depending on the words that were spoken. And I just think it's so amazing. It's also, they did it with music, different kinds of music, and like Mozart had a different crystal, and Tchaikovsky, and even like they found that when they played hard rock, then it was more disordered. But you can see these are very ordered and very symmetrical and everything, whereas these negative words are very disordered and chaotic. And so if we think about it, our bodies are mostly water, right? So that's one thing. But also going back to the whole cell thing, if our cells carry every negative thought, like we can see this on non-living things. Imagine how it's affecting us as living things or living beings. So I made up this whole slideshow and then cut these out, and you can have access to the slideshow too if it helps you to kind of do it with your own children. But the way that I did it with my son is we just talked about, okay, you have a choice here. You can choose to stay stuck where you're at right now and keep going down, and then I took him through all the way through what that meant. Or you have a choice to change your thought and end in victory. So if you see for him, his big motivator was Legos, of course. And this visual of the person stuck in kind of prison was something that my kids could really relate to, because they often felt that way when they were stuck doing their work. Okay, so thinking about our truths, what I believed or know to be true about myself and others, so the first step in there is looking at, what do I know about myself, or what do I know that to be true about myself and others in a positive way? From a positive, what are my strengths, in other words? And so, for example, Nolan's truths were that he said, I was created for a purpose. I'm smart, I'm creative, I'm artistic, I'm a good friend, and I have 3 great friends. Then taking it further, then we took a look at, okay, you know, this one day he was completely going off because he had to write. And he's like, I'm horrible at writing. And and I said, okay, wait a second, let's unpack this just a little bit. You say that you're horrible at writing, but you're good at grammar, and you're good at spelling, and you have nice handwriting when it's important to you, and or when you have the time to write nicely, like you like making calligraphy and stuff like that, when you have unending time, you know, endless amounts of time, and you're really creative. So you saying that you're not a good writer is a lie. So you can choose to stay stuck in that lie. And I'm going to go back to the slide again. You can choose to stay stuck here, or we can start to think about the truth of it, which is that you're good at all those things. You're not a bad writer. So then I took him on the first, like, okay, if you're going to stay stuck, let's look at what that looks like. Let's see how much it costs you to stay stuck. So again, so the lies that we can believe about ourselves, I can't, it's too hard, it's going to take too long, all of that stuff brings fruit. And there is fruit from that. So what does believing those lies produce in us? Despair, loneliness, anger, resentment, guilt, shame. They keep us trapped. These emotions then produce these actions. Lead feet. For me, lead feet was a huge one. My kids too, but especially, like I dealt with this all the time as a kid. Everything I do takes more effort. I felt like I was running through quicksand. And I'll be honest, even doing stuff for our program, I often find myself stuck because I get stuck in thinking that it has to be perfect, or it's not good enough, or whatever. And then I can't move forward. I'm trudging through quicksand again. So, but you can, when you're explaining it to your kid, you can call it quicksand or jello or mud or silly putty, whatever works for them. It also produces like procrastination. So then you get, waiting to the last minute means that you're going to be stressed to finish it. You'll get a lower grade, consequences for not finishing it at home and at school. If you're in school. And the lack of focus. So not being able to focus on it, no matter how hard you try, it takes more time and more effort. Taking all night to do something that should take 20 minutes. And this often happened with him. He would say, I can't do this. It's going to take me too long, and talk about all the reasons why he couldn't. And it was math with 10 problems. And when we actually timed it, and he actually got to work after 45 minutes of complaining about why he couldn't, he could whip it out in 10 minutes. So that's where I started on this whole trek of, I'm like, geez, you got to realize that this time is expensive. So anyway, so our negative thoughts produce different realities. Like if I don't believe in myself, then other people won't either, and the result will be I won't get picked from from other kids, or I'll feel like no one likes me. If all I see is the bad in me, then that's what others will see, and the result is that people may make fun of me or not be friends with me. And like negativity draws negativity. I draw people into my life that also focus on negatives, so my friends aren't very nice to me, things like that. Negativity repels positive people, all of that. So what it helps them to see is my negative thoughts are a heavy weight pulling me down, or pulling me and those around me down. And the price they end up paying for it is it reinforces the feelings of that they hate school. School isn't a fun place to be. My life is an endless circle of school and homework. I'm not good at school. I'm not smart. All of that stuff. So our thoughts are really expensive because it takes us away from doing the things that our negative thoughts take us away from doing the things that we want to do. And so let's take it the other direction and look at the fruit of believing those truths about ourselves, that I can do it. It may take me a little bit longer than other people, things like that. It develops our self-confidence, our self-worth, self-respect, a sense of control over our lives, a belief that we can do it. And the byproduct of focusing on the good in myself is that I start to see the good in others. And these emotions then produce these actions. I can focus. I'm free to get my work finished. I'm free to spend extra time doing the things that I want to do. I'm free to show all my talents and strengths in everything I do. I'm free to use my best ideas in my stories. I'm free to let my God-given creative mind guide my problem-solving processes so that everything I do is efficient, streamlined, valuable, letting the best me show through. And people are drawn to my confidence. They're drawn to the way I make them feel about themselves, and they see that I'm capable and smart and that I have good ideas and good solutions. And as we were talking about the price that you pay for believing the lies, there's also a price that we pay for believing the truths. So focusing on these truths reinforces feelings that I realize I have some control over my life. I have a choice in what happens to me. I have a choice in my future. I can do more than I ever thought possible. I may learn differently and things may not come easily to me, but that doesn't mean I can't learn. And what I love about reframing with kids is that they can start to see themselves way beyond just their immediate circumstances. So and that's what I want my kids to see, that they are world changers. We may have a tiny world, like they may only be changing our part of the world, but I do fully expect them to be able to impact their little piece of the world. And we spend a lot of time talking about that. And so I begin to see that I'm endless, that there's no beginning or end to me or what I'm capable of. There's no beginning or end to what I can do or what I can affect. I'm no longer bound by age or sickness or disabilities. I can overcome it all. I can leave a legacy to affect generations. And so that benefit exponentially outweighs the cost.
That kind of brought tears to my eyes, Shari. You laid that out so clearly. It's so valuable. And I just want to insert this, is that if you are interested in those slides, they're available for you. So on our website, which is right here, down below here, there's a place where you can message Shari or I, and we can get those. Sorry, where am I stopping sharing? You can get those slides from Shari. So, because we want to empower you, we want to give you this tool, whatever it takes, to help you. I know this, and this is just like one of many tools, but we really want to be here to impact and to help you with your children, helping them to get over the hump, work through those meltdowns. And so anyway, I'm going to go into the strengths book. So just wondering if you had a chance to think about some of your child's strengths. before you came into the workshop. If you had a chance to do that, that's awesome. You can write down some of them. I would be curious of what kind of strengths you came up with for your children.
Yeah, if you want to put, if you can put some of those in the chat.
Yeah. I think it would be really helpful for all of us to, you know, get some ideas, because our children are filled with so many strengths and budding strengths too, right? So yeah, that's awesome. Cleaning, independence, drawing, Minecraft, pet care, creativity. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they don't have to be academic too.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
Empathy, creativity, artistic, caring. So when's a good time to talk about strengths? I was thinking about this because, well, our children are young adults now, so I'm not, you know, they don't always live at home. So I'm not going to really have them over and do a strengths event with them. But with your children that are at home, you could actually make this a family thing where you just sit down after dinner and everybody talks about like making a list of their strengths. And then you can also have, you know, siblings saying, well, I see this in you and I see that in you, kind of thing. So we can build out a strengths list. And then if you want to do this with just one child or with all of them, you can have them then choose 5 strengths, for example, begin with 5 strengths. And then you're going to think of sentences to express those strengths. So let's say that for your young child, you might help them. You want to make simple sentences. Let's say, for example, I can draw. I can put dishes away. I can help my dad, but you know, something simple, and you want it to be their sentence as much as possible, because then that will help them to remember. And so they're going to then, after they've chosen their sentences, their strengths and their sentences, they're going to find pictures. So they can either draw their pictures if they like drawing, but they don't have to draw. They can take pictures, clip art from the internet, or they could even if you have lots of photos, they could find photos of themselves doing some of those things as well. And so then you want to take your paper, 3 pieces of paper, and fold it in half. I didn't have a stapler, but then you're going to, for your young writers, you're going to do the writing for them. This isn't going to be schoolwork where it's a dictation exercise. So you're going to write it out for them using their words as much as possible. But for beginner readers or pre-readers, you want only 1 word change. At the most 2, but try to keep it to 1 word change so that it's very simple for them. You don't want any meltdowns.
Yeah,
What was that?
I can bike, I can hang, or I can draw, I can, you know.
Yeah. And also you want to be the one writing it so that there's no errors, no mistakes, because they might be reading this every day. So you don't want them rereading sentences with errors in them.
In fact, your goal is to read it every day before you go to do something. Before learning time, if they're reading it, then their brains are opened up and ready for the hard stuff, because they're already focused on all their things that they're able to do. And that's the powerful thing about reading your strengths, whether it's in a book or whether it's in whatever form it is in. If they're constantly thinking about their strengths before they do something hard, that harder thing is suddenly easier for them. They have more resources that they can access in their brain, instead of shutting down at the thought of, oh, I'm not good at math, so, you know, like limiting their beliefs.
Right. And if your child is a reader and a good writer, they can write their own sentence. They can even write a paragraph if they want. And some example might be like, I can run cross country and sometimes win a hard race. I can read a novel and sometimes finish it in one day. I can help my dad wash the dirty car and sometimes mow the lawn. So those are some examples that an older child who can read and write, kind of sentences that they might come up with. And so again, you can write the sentence, you can write it out, or you can have them if they have good spelling. Now, again, it doesn't have to be academic. So, and yeah, each page has a different strength. So that's another thing. And it tells a particular truth about your child. Later on, you can make more books. You can make books about, I'm good at, using different strengths, or it could be like, I like soccer because I can, and you can make a book about soccer. I like camping because I can, and, each page again is a different strength of something that they can do. And again, before school or in the morning, before they start doing the tasks where they do start melting down, you read this book every day. And the key is that they're paying attention to the positive things before they're tackling the challenging things. And then again, during the day, if they start spiraling down, bring out that book again. And you can also, if you want to do something different, you can make a poster and have it on the wall where they usually work. And they can refer to that. You can help them point it out, when they're starting to spiral down. So the strengths book really helps that inner perseverance, that building up that inner perseverance and resiliency, and by bringing them back to the truths about themselves, and especially when they're starting, to spiral down. And I wanted to share something that I wrote, that I thought of this morning in my journal. So, so I was thinking, I guess, about our own children when I wrote this. Our oldest son struggled more than our other children, and we were living abroad. I was homeschooling, and in the last year we were there, he did school online, and we struggled with the internet. I struggled with trying to figure out how to work all this internet school and everything. So that took a little while. He got a month and a half behind until we got everything figured out. I had to download everything at 5 a.m. before all the offices opened up and everything, where everybody was using like the same internet. Anyway, he got a month and a half behind. And by the time January came, he was like quite a bit behind in major subjects like science and math. And my husband said that he wanted to take the boys on this adventure. He wanted to take them to the Everest base camp before we moved back home. But they had to be finished school before the end of May. And so our oldest son just kind of mentally, he just, what's the word? I can't explain it, but I think you get the picture, how your child would feel. He couldn't work. Like, he was just like, I can't do this. There's no way, and he just kind of fell apart, and he couldn't work. His mind was just, he was depressed and he was discouraged. And so I had to help him. I didn't know about the strengths book, but I used some verses from the Bible to help point out to him some of those personal truths about himself. And when he finally clung onto them and believed them, all of a sudden his brain opened up and he could do his work. And he did 4 chapters of math in 1 month of January. And then he flew through the rest of all of his subjects, except for one, I can't remember what it was, but the main subjects he finished, and they were able to go on that track. And I just wanted to say that building this base, you know, helping them choose truths when they're facing discouragement, when they're facing the idea that this is too hard, this is too much, it's building that resiliency. It's building a launching pad that when they get into young adulthood, they have this extra strength because all their school year life, they've been pushing through, you know, that mentality. No, I can't do this, too hard, it's too much, it's way too much. And they build that. And by the time they're young adults, they are launching themselves into things that we wouldn't even have imagined for them. You know, they, like Shari said, they don't have limits because they've seen themselves push through. And that child today, our oldest child, he's a doctor now. He's not a genius, but he learned to work hard, and he made himself get through it. So I just wanted to encourage you that, you know, this is going to help your child launch themselves, you know, by the time they get to young adulthood, you know, building this resiliency, working through and helping them to choose these truths. So I'm just, we're all behind you in this journey with your children. And to end, I just wanted to.
Can I add something real super quick?
Yes, of course.
Okay. I was just going to say too, instilling in our kids a growth mindset. I'm sure there are probably workshops on that even in this conference, but in fact, I think I saw one. But like having our kids know that, okay, this is hard. It is hard, but here's the great thing about it. Every single time you have to think hard, every time something is hard, your brains are actually making new neural pathways and showing them what neurons look like and how they travel, using like a video on the internet to show all of that. You can say you are actually creating more neural pathways between all the different areas in your brain the more you have to work. So your brain is actually getting bigger. You're getting smarter every single time than somebody who it might be easy for them. Their brains are not growing near as much as your brain is growing. So that's another thing. The other thing, what was I going to say? Oh, mental imagery. And Rosemary, you reminded me of this because your daughter being a world athlete, bicyclist, imagery for any athlete, imagery is so important, right? Picturing yourself succeeding. So if we can get our kids to picture themselves being successful in whatever it is we think that they're not, or that they think that they're not going to, if we can help them to reframe that from the beginning, or think about it, or maybe draw a picture of what it would look like if I could, you know, if it were easy, what would it look like? You know, those things can all make such a difference in helping our kids. So.
All right. Yeah, if you found this workshop useful, you could type a little something what you found, you know, how you want to use this with your own family. If it's like giving you some ideas, that would be wonderful. And
I love the ideas too that people have already put in the chat. There are lots of, I can tell that everybody's really thinking about it. It's awesome.
I know that especially if you have challenging children, that learning to rework the words in our own brains can be really helpful to making sure we are a more gentle, caring parent in challenging times. I remember one session I was at had a suggestion of putting little like wristbands on your arm, even if it's hair bands, and every time you're having a hard time, to switch the wristband to the other side with one positive I am, or about my child, or something like my child can, like a good, like one of these strengths, so that you think of the good thing when you're struggling with a hard thing. So that can, like, it's, even if it's just mental in your head, you don't have to say it out loud if this isn't the right moment to be like saying you're a really good bike rider while they're throwing a temper tantrum or something, but it can be a good reminder for us too. I know that as a mom with some challenging kids, sometimes having those on standby can help you when you're dealing with a tough time. So.
I love that, and that's so great, because a lot of our clients also are moms who are struggling with different things in their own children, and it's sometimes easy to get stuck on the negative. And so I love the switching the bracelet so that you can purposefully choose to think about, reframe it into positives. It makes such a difference, because you can't stay stuck if you're speaking out positive things over and over again. You just can't. It's like impossible. Yeah. They're not congruent with each other. So.
And yes, I agree about how we talk about ourselves too. I really want to thank you, ladies, for coming and talking with us and getting our minds to think about the positive things with our kids and helping our kids to think about the strengths that they have as well. It's an important part of being a quality parent, I think, and to help our kids be encouraged as well in their process. So I really appreciate it. And everyone check out their website, Reader Detective or Confident Kids Academy. They both will get you where you need to go. And you can find their link on their session and all the things on the website for the conference too. So, all right, thanks so much, everybody, and have a great afternoon.